Good afternoon, fellow Razorback fans. It is your Sunday afternoon Razor Recap, a.k.a. this is going to be your Sunday therapy session after what we all witnessed yesterday as Arkansas fell to Memphis. But before we dive in, we do have to talk about our friends over at Razor Pigs. Looking good never felt so fun. Razor Pigs is the Arkansas-born brand bringing some serious style to the golf course, tailgate, and everywhere in between. From high-quality polos to head-turn hats, they've got what you need to rep the natural state with pride. Found it right here at home, and now run by a Razorback-loving family. Razor Pigs is where comfort meets cool. So go hog wild and shop Razor Pigs today at razorpigs.us. And our lovely friends over at Scarlet Letter, Arkansas's very own handcrafted spiked seltzer. You can check them out today. And if you're in Northwest Arkansas, check out the Core Brew Tap Room, where you can get Scarlet Letter and all its various flavors, as well as their new hard teas. And after yesterday, all the drama that's been going on with Arkansas and this football team, how are you today, Austin?
I mean, not very good. I just want to point out something too. We did a preview show yesterday at Parker's, right? And it was fun, a lot of fun there. But there were some talking points that we had and that we talked about, and I don't know why, but Arkansas, they made us look like clowns, right?
They did the complete opposite of what we said.
Like one of the big things I said, Arkansas has a decent run defense. No, they don't. Apparently they don't, because Memphis ran all over them. Their backup quarterback carried a 390-pound lineman for at least 6 yards, more if you count what he got after the first down, on his back to clinch the game. And I don't know why they had to just completely crap the bed yesterday. It right. was. I want to say it's the worst loss I've ever seen, but it's not. To be honest, Memphis isn't a bad team. They're probably going to be in the college football playoffs because there's that one spot for group of 5 teams. At the same time, it's just, man, it's rough. And you and I were talking about this before the podcast that there's a couple schools that, like, if you lose to them, it feels like an automatic, like, you're done. And one of them, I feel like it's Memphis, because there's some history between the University of Arkansas and Memphis, not necessarily in football, but it's not like it's kind of like between us and like A-State. Like, we never played them in football before that, but there's a history of back and forth talking, and it's just, I don't know, man. That's just such a rough loss.
Yeah.
And it's one that didn't need to happen either. Many opportunities to win that game.
100%. Transplant Texas said here, fair enough. Many were fooled, and the fall camp 4-0 Kool-Aid was indeed a poison drink. But yeah, I mean, you look at it, I think.
But to be fair, it's really not, because they were a fumble away each time, right? And I understand that, hey, it's his fault. This is the reason, we have that. It all comes up to Sam Pittman, but at the same time, you can see that this team is good, right? The flashes are so freaking bright that 4-0.
One half of this team is good.
Well, yeah, right. One half of this team is good, but that one half is so good that you should be 4-0 right now.
Right.
But it was that one mistake at the very end of the game that cost them. And guess who it was? Guess who was on? Both on the offense. Right. And on both of those games, the offense couldn't score in the second half. 7 points against Ole Miss, 3 points against Memphis. So yeah, it's so hard to like say it was Kool-Aid whenever you can see that it was this close to not being, right? They're this close to being 4-0 going into this game playing Notre Dame. And it's just, That's what sucks the worst. That's the worst part, is that you can see that they're good, at least on one side of the ball, and they still can't make it to a win.
Right. And, it's so ironic and uncanny. And, there's probably various other verbiage you can use for just the fact that you lose the game the exact same way, nearly identically, 2 weeks in a row. Just different offensive players losing the ball. But other than that, both around the 2-minute mark and under, you're scoring to drive to take the lead back. And, like we said, this Arkansas offense can roll once it gets rolling, carry some momentum. And then just everything is derailed with a turnover. And I was thinking about this. And I remember back to our conversation with Memphis Spence on Thursday. What did he say for Memphis to win this game? Win the turnover.
Have to be the turnovers.
And on top of that, on all of his models he ran, he was thinking it would take at least 3 turnovers. How many turnovers did Arkansas have with that last fumble? 3. So, it's just insane that, all this came, to fruition. Like you said, we kind of hyped up all the different talking points we had. Memphis ran all over us. I think it's just laughable at this point. The fact that, the thing that, yes, the fumble for all intents and purposes sealed everything, but the fact that Memphis brought in their backup quarterback to seal it as well. Another instance of against a backup quarterback that comes in and kind of, puts the nail in the coffin, if you will, when he comes in and just carries Ian Jaffard for the first down on his back. Like, it's just laughable. I mean, we talked about it. This offense is so good. They come out and put up 3 points in the second half. And, we're looking around. We're like, okay. And then, you see Memphis. And then, right there late in the game, Sutton Smith, the guy that we talked about, breaks off that huge run that kind of puts them on top. And, things weren't boding well at that point.
Bro, let's talk about that run for a second. Right? Let's talk about this run. You can go back and look at it there. I think Josh Teeter is one of the ones that put it out there and talked about it. It might have been another person. I don't know. But there's the view of that run where he goes 64 yards for the touchdown. The first one, and I'm not blaming Sorey at all because I think he's hurt. He looks like he's hurt. And we were talking about it, like, where is he? What's he like? What is he moving so slow? I've kind of looked back at some of the highlights and stuff. I do think he's not feeling his greatest. And he was the first person to get to the ball at that point. At the same time, he doesn't keep his feet moving and he doesn't run through the tackle. He gets there and he stops and he tries to grab with his arms. He's not using his whole body. At the same time, again, he makes Sutton go backwards and gives the rest of the defense extra time to get there. And they were Larry Worth was one of them. On the other side of the field, you had some of the corners. I can't remember who it was. But they just were jogging. They were jogging. The effort was not there. The effort wasn't there. There was one point, and no one said it online because I think I was one of the only people that really caught it. There was one time, I think in the second half, where Memphis is driving to go score a touchdown, and I think we held them to a field goal here. But it's because that their quarterback didn't see this wide open pass, and it was because they had a guy moving in motion across the field, and Arkansas was in man, and the person that was following him was Jaheim Singletary, and instead of sprinting to keep up with him, he was jogging, and whenever they snapped and the play was started, he was a good 10, 15 yards away from the dude running his route, and the quarterback just didn't see him. It would have been a touchdown. If not, they would have been near the goal line for it. And it's that kind of effort that is just so like insane. Like, why are you not sprinting right there? You know that he's probably going to be one of the people, if not the read for the play. So why are you not sprinting to stay with him? Like, it didn't make sense to me. I don't know why the effort's not there. And you have to think, it goes up to the coaching. I've been a T-Will fan for this whole time. This season is starting to change that, because there is no way that I can't even believe this is a T-Will defense. Just the way that they just suck with effort, with intensity, with all of that, not just with the X's and O's.
Right. When you talk about the scheming and everything, it's like that point here, if Sorey's hurt, yeah, you want his leadership and everything on the field. But if it's, costing you games and you're having issues, it's like I'm just saying, says, we've got Bradley Shaw. If Sorey's hurt, he needs to be off the field and get better. He killed us Saturday with a clinic on how not to tackle. Exactly like you said, trying to make those arm tackles. And I even mentioned to you while we were Parkers watching this game, I said, is it just me, or does Sorey look like he's a step or two slower than what he normally is? And, I think he's still dealing with that hamstring issue that, popped up right before the season started, and he made him miss a couple of the scrimmages during fall camp. And so, yeah, I mean, it's that tough point where, guys like, oh yeah, coach, I can play through it. But then you see, clearly on the field, he's playing through it, but he's hurting the team. And, some of the tackles where he missed tackle or tried to wrap up with his arms, like you said, not using his full body. And then, the defender bounces off of him. And like you said, exact perfect example of that play, Sutton Smith bounced off Sorey, cut it back, gone. Like,
yeah. And I want you to go, like, if you guys were watching at home after this, go look at that defense from 2021, right? The year that Arkansas did well under Sam Pittman. That defense flew around, and this defense just doesn't.
No,
it's an effort problem. And I don't know if it's more an effort problem, which I think it is, because I've played the game of football. I know how hard it is, play after play. And I know that even with that, you may be tired, you may be slower, but the body language, you can see when people aren't giving effort versus whenever they're just tired. I think it's just bad effort. You got guys on the other side of the field who they're the last ditch, effort, and they weren't even close. Like that backside corner, yes, you probably aren't going to get them, but you need to book it. You need to take that angle, and you need to try to meet them 40 yards down the field to save that touchdown from happening. And there was no one within 15 yards of Sutton whenever that play happened. So yeah, to me, it's an effort problem, and which is so weird. So weird.
Right. And it makes you wonder, like, what is going on internally of, like, lack of motivation. Is it something with communication, game planning? Like, it's interesting to see. I'm just saying, says, I'm beginning to suspect the fall off in defensive fundamentals is because Petrino, from what I've been told, doesn't like the defense to tackle to the ground during spring practice and summer.
Yeah, but I think they did, though. I think they did tackle. They didn't just thud up during the spring and summer. So I don't know how true that is or not. I thought they did some tackling, because I remember Coach Pittman saying that. Now, years run together, so it might have been the year before that they were tackling a little more. But at the same time, that I don't know, man. That's just the tackling. A lot of that has to do with effort, and they're just not giving that effort.
Right. Yeah, it's not there. You can clearly see on the play. And I, don't get me wrong, nothing to, like, not trying to slam the guy or anything, and I love Cam Ball as much as anybody else, but the number of times he was one of those guys jogging on, after the kind of the play was passed a little bit, full effort, keep on trying to, get there. And, it's the fundamental saying of play to the whistle blows. Like you said, too many guys are, the plays on the other side of the field or gets by them. They just give up or, not hustle out the rest of the play, if you will.
Yeah. And I mean, I think one of the people that does really well on this defense is Phillip Lee. Like he's got a high motor. The dude is always running. And the thing is, I think that Quincy Rhodes is also doing that. He's just not as quick necessarily as Philip Lee is. And you'll see that. You'll see them. They'll be like a backside on the backside, and they'll make the tackle like 10 yards down the field because they still got that motor going, even though the plays pass them by. And that's what you got to have. And I understand that this defensive line isn't deep. But you have 5 guys who can play right now,
right?
If not 6. Like, you got to use them. I know that you're going to have some problems, but if you can make these guys stick in their gap and, play fundamentally, you shouldn't have a problem with the linebackers that we have.
Yeah.
It's just what it is. And what is it? I don't know why it is, but Arkansas has a problem setting the edge. They get beat around the edge every single time a team wants to go and stretch the field like that. It doesn't make sense to me. Well, they're playing out of position is what it is. They just get out of position.
Well, that and contain as well. We talked about that last week with the Memphis, and then surely they make some improvements this week. The number of times, if you would have had contain, Brennan Lewis for Memphis doesn't get out of the pocket and make some of those bigger plays. Number of times we almost had guys that should have had the tackles. There was one play where I think he beat was like 4 different tackles that, like you were saying, fundamentals guys aren't staying on their feet, and he should have been tackled 4 different times, but we weren't having our contain, but B, that physicality and tackling and just trying to arm grab a guy and yank him down.
Yeah, and I mean, I was just talking good about him, but I'm about to talk bad about him. Quincy Rhodes, there was one time where he had pretty much a free shot at what's his name, the quarterback, and yeah, he had a free shot at Lewis, and instead of taking that outside or the outside shoulder, he went inside, and Lewis just spun off him and then ran for like 10 yards. Like, I don't understand why it's those little bitty differences, right? Those little bitty aspects of the game that people don't really think about, but can do real big damage. Like, right. I'm talking about inches, right? From one side of his body to the other side of his body. I'm saying he needed to put his head on the right side of Lewis's head, instead of the left side of Lewis's head. And it's so close, yet it can break out for a play like that if you're not careful. So I don't know, but I want to talk about how Memphis's defensive coordinator may be legit. Because some of those blitzes that got home, and I know there was a lot of people talking trash about the offensive line, and there were some things, especially in the run game, that I did not like from this offensive line. But there were some blitzes that were genius that Memphis gave. And the thing is, I think we saw a lot of that from T-Will at the beginning of his time at Arkansas, and I just haven't seen that since, which is that's troubling to me. That first, I think it was the sack, that first sack that they had on Taylor Green, it was just perfect. Like, they had a guy, I think he was the backside linebacker, a Mike. He was just kind of like waiting for a second, and it was delayed. And then whenever the defensive lineman split the guard in the center, he just comes right through the middle and hits him. And the thing is, Arkansas was empty, or they had a running back making a route. So that was a hot route. That was something that Taylor Green needs to look at. But at the same time, it was super hard to see. It was a great play call by Memphis. Memphis did a really, really good job at stunning this Bobby Petrino offense.
Right. And I think it's the same play that I was thinking of too, is where the linebacker, he fakes like he's going to drop back. And then, like you said, as soon as the ball is snapped, your guard and tackle are split, and he just has a free shot at Taylor. And I mean, that's like, and that's the thing we were talking about too, is like Memphis's front four and their exotic, scheming that they'll do. And like you said, and like Memphis Spence was talking about, he was like, he's been really quiet, but with what he's doing, he's about to get some attention and potentially some offers to move up in the world. And, for what he did Saturday, 28 points the first half, but you come out and what a way to adjust in the second half and kind of slow that our offense down to allow 3 points. Props to him. I mean, that's just really good scheming and play calling defensively.
And I'm just saying, he kind of hits the nail on the head right here. So other teams are going to see that on film and copy it going forward. Ole Miss gave the blueprint to how to pass on Arkansas's defense. Right. Memphis gave the blueprint on how to run on Arkansas's defense. And Memphis gave the blueprint on how to stop Arkansas's offense. Like, it's troubling. Like, teams know exactly how to stop this team.
Right.
And I know there was a comment earlier that said, hey, this season is not over. I'm like, well, everyone in the nation knows how to stop Arkansas now. So I understand that there's going to be some pretty close games. I think Arkansas's offense is ingenuitive enough to be able to probably overcome that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I just don't know, man. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to overcome what people have seen on this tape.
Right. It's all out there. And, it's like Transplant Texas said here, at the end of it, coulda, woulda, shoulda. But, he mentions, Washington tucks the ball instead of going for the extra yards in that field goal situation, no fumble. At the end of the day, it still chalks up to another loss. And the other thing too, you saw him on one drive specifically. I mean, he finished the day with only a total 4 carries. What are we doing not using Braylon Russell more? 4 carries for 47 yards. Like,
yeah, that's true. Especially since he was doing so good in the first half. At the same time, whenever you have that hot hand at the end, like Mike Washington had, because that was his drive.
Right.
He's the reason why they were near the goal line to begin with.
Right. But
so I understand. Right. Up until that point, he wasn't good. So I agree with you there. But as far as like having him in at that play at that moment, I think that's more like the reason people were talking about that.
Right.
But at the same time, you can't make that decision whenever you have a guy who is hot at that moment.
Yeah.
Right.
I think for me, it's just like I want to see better splits. Like, we talked about having the 1-2 punch. Mm-hmm. And you see Russell having success. He gets 4 carries, and on those 4 carries, he averages over 11 yards a carry. But he gets 4. And I get to your point. I agree with you on that last drive. You see Mike Washington's having success. All right, fine, leave him alone there. But other than that last drive, the entire rest of the game, you saw Mike Washington get bottled up and hit the backfield numerous times. And on top of this, we saw him be a guy that we utilized last year with his speed and shiftiness. Where's Rodney Hill?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's just weird things to dive in and think about as we're seeing things like this. And it's like I'm just saying, says whoever was in there, regardless of who it is, especially after what happened last week at Ole Miss, you tell these guys, whatever you do, don't fumble the ball.
I mean, apparently they did. But also, they came out of the 2-minute warning and had a penalty because they broke the huddle with 12 players.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what to say, dude.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know how you can even, like, the inept part of this entire team that's happened year after year after year, like the decision makings, the mistakes, all that junk is like I'm just saying, says a comedy of errors. It is. I don't know.
it's been almost the storyline and the summary of, the Pittman era. And I'll say, I've been a guy that's trying to have been a Pittman supporter, trying to be optimistic going into the season, giving the man all the opportunities. But as much as I hate to say it, I mean, I think he lost me after Saturday. You can't let the same exact thing. I know it's not on him. The players got home the ball, et cetera, et cetera. But the lack of discipline, what Transplant Texan says here, lack of discipline, lack of effort, lack of leadership, equals another Razorback loss. After all of that, like, I just can't do it anymore. Like, I appreciate him coming in, getting us out of the pit, what was after the wreckage of what was the Chad Morris experiment. But, at this point, you in year 6, you can't have these type of losses in year 6. 7-19 now in 1-loss games. I know that he didn't. He was asked about that last week, and he was like, "What do you want me to do?" I understand, but you're in year 6. You should have things set up to where you're set up for success in tight games like that. That's where you should be at in year 6 of a program and what you've built. And, with what offense you have and what you've been able to do. And so, Transplant Texan hits it here. The bridge of higher tenure Pittman has taken a U-turn. I was hoping this year would be the year where maybe he decides to finish it off. We can have a semi-decent season, and you retire off and, go to your lake house in Lake Hamilton and, finish your career out, right off in the sunset, if you will. And we're to that point where that's really not an option. Even if you do finish out the season and you manage to maybe go 500, maybe if you're lucky, and you're just, it's got an asterisk or tarnished a little bit, if you will.
Yeah, and I think that too. Like it's kind of like these quarterbacks in the NFL who are past their prime, but they're always striving to get that one more championship, and they end up taking that next year, and they end up just not doing very well at all. Brett Favre comes to mind. Can't really say that about Tom Brady because he was pretty much good up until he retired. But like Aaron Rodgers is kind of in the middle of that right now. Like he should probably retire. But the thing is that Sam Pittman hasn't never hit that height. So it's crazy, but yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah. And the other thing is like, you were talking about he should have this stuff ready to go for these 1-score losses already in year 6. Well, I'd say that those comments from Juracek about Arkansas football not being in the place financially to win a national championship, you've been here for like 7 years, right? You should also have that built up already. Like I said something about him waving the white flag in one of our pieces for Razorbackers the other day, and I had a lot of people were like, "Oh, he's just trying to get boosters to donate more money." And I'm like, "No, he's not." Because if he wanted to do that, he would have done it 3-4 years ago.
Right.
Like you don't just come in here and not have the money for it all of a sudden, right? And he hasn't, and you can see about how he's structured everything, the athletics at the University of Arkansas. You can see that Arkansas is taking a back burner. I've talked about it many times here. So I don't know, man.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
And it's like, I'm just saying, here it says Juracek has been too busy pushing against the move to NIL and paying players that he's going in the opposite direction and trying to catch up at the same time. Exactly. When all the NIL stuff started coming around back in 2020, if he kind of would have got with the program back then, kind of like you see some of these other universities having success with NIL and the collectives and whatever it is, and Arkansas has been through 2 or 3 different leaders of Edge, NIL, all that stuff. Like, yeah, I mean, and it's like Transplant Tech says, how those $100, $140 Big Red speaker sales going. So
yeah, that's the timing.
That's the most
the timing
funniest,
of this program.
Right, the timing of that after what he said just a few days earlier. Like, you come out and say, "Oh, well, we're not built to compete," and all this stuff, and then, "Oh, come buy this 10-inch tall Big Red speaker for $140." Like,
right.
That doesn't fit right. But sum all this up, and we kind of, for the most part, finished talking about the game because there's not much else to get into other than defense looked terrible, offense sputtered in the end. But
I got a problem with one of these comments though. The one about us being redundant and boring. Well, it's because our football program is redundant and boring. I mean, what do you want us to talk about? What do you want us to talk about, man?
Right.
I don't understand that comment. This football team is redundant and boring. So obviously we're going to be redundant. And I try not to be boring. I try to be a little bit outlandish and a little bit hot takes here and there. But dang, man. I'm pissed at this football program. I'm pissed at people being pissed about us being pissed about this program. I don't know, man. This is
I get it. I mean, I don't know. It's frustrating. It's like your AD comes out and basically does everything in the playbook that you're not supposed to be, say, in a public thing in Little Rock with probably a lot of donors and stuff tuned in or there. And then, you come out and have a embarrassing loss to follow that, where you lose in the exact same way as the week before. And I'm just saying, it says we even hung our hat on the whole revenue sharing, and Everly didn't read the decision handed down by the judge. It's, what is he calling legal is legal, whatever. It's like the number of times I heard him say, "Oh, things will be different whenever
revenue sharing starts." Yeah.
Well, revenue sharing's here, and it didn't seem like everything's much better.
And that's the thing is that I don't know. There was just such a, I don't know what you call it. They were just so against NIL, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were like, well, we're going to wait for this house settlement stuff to go through and we're going to do all that. While every other program in the country
was
bought into it. And now, well, guess what? Everybody can do revenue sharing, but guess what? Everybody still can do NIL. NIL was always going to be the thing. NIL was always going to be the thing because you can always put NIL on top of revenue sharing.
It's so like, let's stack those things and make it even better.
I feel like, what's his name? Hunter Yurchek is the Dabo Swinney of ADs. And here's the thing. All you people out there that are like, oh, Dabo Swinney's sucking at Clemson, so let's try to get him to come to Arkansas. What are you thinking? He doesn't use the transfer portal. Arkansas, if and when Sam Pittman gets fired from Arkansas, they're not going to have players. So he's got to use the transfer portal.
Right.
Dabo Swinney coming to Arkansas would be the death of Arkansas's football program. I think Dabo Swinney is a hell of a good coach, but he's got to change his ways. Like if he were to go somewhere else, he's got to go to the portal. He's got to use the portal.
Well, and he's made it clear he will, but I'll say that, I feel like you're giving, giving some extra props to Yurchek. At least Dabo can say he's won and has a national title. I mean, when it comes to football, Yurchek, I mean, even if you look at, what Yurchek supposedly done, for Arkansas, like people like to reference back to, us bringing on Coach Cal. We talked about this before we jumped on. That wouldn't even been the case if John Tyson didn't step in and call Cal, because they're good friends, as we all know. That's been very established and put out there by both Tyson and Cal. Yurchek was
Yurchek, to be honest, because Yurchek talked about how Tyson was the reason, that was the one who brought it up to Yurchek.
Right, and he said, "Hey, go talk to him."
Yeah,
so it wasn't his move. I mean. So, yeah, I mean, And that brings me to the next thought is like, going forward, where do we go from here? I think, everything's played out, and kind of the ending to the story, if you will, has already been written. It's just, how do we fill in between and get to that point? Because I think after what Juracek said, the culmination of everything that's happened, the loss last week, losing the same way this week, Juracek's comments at the Little Rock Touchdown Club, I think it's paved the way that him and Pittman both, more than likely, willing to bet, are both gone. It's just a matter of when, not if.
Yeah, like I can see how Pittman could keep his job at least until the end of the season if he wins against Notre Dame, or he may buy him another week if he loses close to Notre Dame. But I really don't see how Juracek makes it through. Because, yes, we have a good basketball program. Yes, we have a good baseball program. Yes, we have a good softball program. Yes, we have a good track and field program. But we all know, everyone knows, football is king.
Yep.
Football is king. And if you don't focus on football, you're not going to last long as an AD. I don't care if you are in the SEC. I don't care if you are in the American. I don't care if you're in the Great American Conference in D2. If you don't focus on football, if you have a football program and you don't focus on them, you're not going to last long as an AD.
Right.
Simple as that.
Yeah, 100%, like you said. And I think it's the thing is, yeah, I mean, you look at it, I think Saturday sealed the deal ultimately for Pittman, like you said. It's like, how far do they let it ride out? Like, do you have a bunch more bad losses? Do you go ahead and cut ties? I quoted and retweeted it. I sent it to you and Hawgs, that video, Brandon Marcello talking about, like, it looks like things are in the work for Petrino to be the interim coach if it gets to the point where you cut ties midseason with Pittman. And I think what you've got to lay out and look at and determine pros and cons for is, it sucks to continue losing like this, and everybody's frustrated with Pittman. Do you let him make the season and, quote unquote, let him retire? Or do you risk giving him the boot mid-season, opening that 30-day portal window for some players to potentially leave, and it just get even worse? You're just kind of, I feel like you're speeding up the process, if you will. You're probably going to, if you get rid of Pittman at the end of the year, you're going to have a mass exodus anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, do you want to do that sooner or later? I feel like that's what you're really looking at. Do you try to salvage what's left of the season? And maybe, like I said earlier, if you're super lucky, go 500, go to a bowl game, and kind of end your tenure at Arkansas with, oh, we made it to a bowl game once again, and then get ready to move on? Or, do you have such backlash and frustration from the fan base that you say, okay, we're going to go ahead and do it now, make Bobby interim, and see what he can do the rest of the season?
Yeah, and here's the thing with that. I don't think Bob Petrino is going to change much because he's already in control of the offense. The way that this program is set up is that the defense and offensive coordinators have control of their own thing. So Sam Pittman is a CEO coach, right? He just oversees everything and does stuff like that. I don't think there's much that, what's his name, Bobby Petrino could really do, because let's be honest, Sam Pittman's decision making, and I mean, obviously there's some things that haven't done well with mistakes and whatnot, but Bobby Petrino is not going to be able to change that. Right. But the decision making has been slightly better this year. I will say that. I think he's finally starting to get it a little bit, but too little, too late. At the same time, you and I were also talking that if they fire him now, that opens that 30-day period where they can transfer out. But if they fire him after the season's over, they're going to have to wait to jump into the portal, like with everybody else after. And I think they're going to do it after bowl season, since they got rid of that. Since they got rid of that spring I think they're going to push back the portal to after bowl season, and that's going to give the next coach to come in here and make some headway with the guys that are already on campus. They can say, hey, I'm entering the portal and blah, 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 but they're still going to be most likely on campus. They're still not going to be able to be talked to by people from other programs until they're actually officially in the portal.
Right.
So that gives us a little bit of little bit of a head start when trying to retain these guys, because there are people in this program that we're going to want to retain.
Yeah.
KJ Jackson I think he's going to be a good quarterback. You have running backs. I think, we were talking about how we want to see more of them. I think Braylon Russell is someone you want to keep, right? There's some people you want to keep on this roster, and having them just go out in the middle of the season, that kind of, I don't know. That's it'll be hard to do anything with it the year after if that happens.
Yeah. And yeah. And one thing I want to talk about is that we talked about it too is getting rid of Pittman. You talked about his buyout and everything. Okay, so look at it. Since 2021, Pittman's 29-26. So 3 games above 500. So if he remains above 500, his buyout, he gets 75%, which right now is a little over $10 million. If he falls below 500, so you let him, finish the season, he drops under that and, maybe finishes 30-31 or something like that. His buyout drops to $7 million. So you got $3 million, gap there. Like we mentioned, you have the portal window that opens up that you've got to deal with. But, yeah, and not to mention this was game 4. So any player on our roster that was not redshirted can take a red shirt until they play 5 games. Mm-hmm. So that's something else to consider too, is some of these guys they could redshirt and have an extra year somewhere else. But the thing is, and we talked about it too, since we're talking about new, we'll be finding a new coach after the season more than likely, is you can't whiff or miss on this next hire whatsoever.
Right.
Like that's going to be key. It's like Transplant Texans said here. It seems like it's been, bridge hire after bridge hire until the program is rehabbed again and made favorable for a better head coaching candidate. But are you ever going to get to that point of getting a better head coach if you keep trying to bridge the program and you wait too long to get rid of a guy?
Right.
I'm just saying, it says here is, really don't think the roster is a problem. I agree. You've got a lot of talented guys on this roster. If Pittman has done anything, it's proved that we can compete with the best in the country, even though you don't have tons of NIL. He just keeps finding ways to lose the close games.
Yeah, I'm there with you too. Like, I think the secondary has some good pieces. And I've said it already. I don't mean to be redundant, but it was an effort problem. Like, you can tell that they can get there if they wanted to. Right. It's an effort problem. But yeah, I agree. Like, this can't be a bad hire. There's too much good coaching talent out there right now for us to miss. This can't be another, Lane Kiffin, he wants to be here, and then we get outbid by Ole Miss. Like, that can't happen.
Right. At that point,
and you
just gotta pay whoever your top candidate is that you settle on, that think will be able to come in, take this program and take it to the next level. I like to compare Sam Pittman to a Mike Anderson, or, esque, got us out of the hole that was John Pelfrey, but could never get over that hump. And then we brought in a Musselman that kind of took us to the next level after that, got us back in the tournament, got us, getting some high caliber players, getting, more national attention. We need to go find our Eric Musselman for the football program that can, take this program to the next level. Like, don't go out there and, hire a recycled coach or, one of those things. Like, go out there and get somebody that, and that's the tough part. You got to do your due diligences when you're doing all these things on young up and coming coaches, or, guys maybe at that our head coach is currently just at a smaller program type of things. But you just, like you said, it's crucial. You cannot miss or whiff on this next football hire.
Yeah. And here's the thing, too. There are going to be a lot of teams out there trying to get a new coach. South Carolina doesn't look good. No one's even talking about this. South Carolina doesn't look good. I don't know if Shane Beamer will last. Like, we already know Billy Napier is most likely out. Mike Gundy is probably – I don't even know if he'll make it the rest of this week. Mike Gundy will probably be out.
And who knows about Dabo?
So you could have South Carolina, Clemson, Florida, OSU, all trying to get new coaches. You cannot get outbid by all of them.
On top of, you already have UCLA and Virginia Tech looking for coaches.
Right. So there's going to be a lot of openings. There's a lot of good talent. I mean, we already know about one. Florida fired him today. Did I miss that?
I don't know.
I don't see anything. There's a thread that says Billy Napier isn't getting fired today. So it was 9 hours ago. So I'm guessing there was maybe a rumor that popped up that they were going to get rid of him, and they haven't. So,
but listen to this. If we think we're talking about Sam Pittman's buyout, Billy Napier fired this week, what do you think his buyout is?
Oh, his buyout's probably a lot. He hasn't been there super long.
Well, and
probably
he just signed
$20 million.
Well, he just signed an extension too last season, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
His buyout would be $21 million, $21.7 million. But we know people in Florida, you don't start 1-3 at Florida and last too long. They'll come up with the money and get you out of there real fast.
Right. Well, here's the thing too. If and when Sam Pittman is fired / leaves, if he truly does love Arkansas the way that he talks about, do you think he will take that buyout or take the whole buyout?
You'd think he could settle. Like,
you would think he would
take the whole amount, but give me X, Y, Z,
Right. I feel like as much as the Sam Pittman era is starting to end poorly, I still feel like he would probably do something like that. Like, he's a good enough of a man, and I think he truly does like or love the University of Arkansas. I really do. I mean, you can look at whenever he was hired and how emotionally he was whenever he was up there on stage talking about it. I mean, I think he knows what he's done. And let's be honest. Let's be honest. I see a lot of people out there talking about how he's worse than Chad Morris because it's been so long. No, you are revising history. Chad Morris was horrible for this program. We were dead in the water with Chad Morris. We actually have an opportunity to build off of what Sam Pittman's done here. Right? Sam Pittman hasn't made this program worse than Chad Morris by any means. He's given us something that we can build on, and you should be happy for that. But it doesn't mean that he needs to continue being the football coach at Arkansas.
Right.
Like, two things can be true at once.
Exactly. And so, it's like somebody says, Brian mentioned we need an Arkansas guy, just not anybody. And then transplant Texan means we need a winner more than we need an Arkansas guy. If you can combine those things, fantastic. I've heard a lot of names last year, and then this year, if you're talking about a winner and an Arkansas guy, the name out there to think about is potentially a Rhett Lashley type of guy, but you got to pry him out of Dallas. But, he is the Arkansas guy, from Arkansas, played at Arkansas, graduate assistant coached under Gus Malzahn at Arkansas. He would understand the idea of Arkansas. But, you also want a winner. And I've heard the names thrown out there about a John Gruden type of guy.
what's his name? Orgeron. Like, I mean, there are some wild names going out there. There's one.
The theory
I don't know if
you bring in both Gruden and Orgeron to coach your defense, and Gruden handles the offense.
I mean, that would. You want to talk about Arkansas being a party school? Holy cow! Like, if they were both here, the memes would be hilarious. I mean, there's also a thread out there on Reddit. I don't know if you go on Reddit at all, but one guy was like, talking about Cignetti at Indiana. He's like, but Cignetti, if we can't get Nick Saban. And I'm like, bro, are you delusional? I don't think Nick Saban would come to Arkansas, even if he were looking to get back into coaching, which I'm not sure he is.
I was about to say, would he tarnish his record by doing that? Like, he's won everywhere he's went. And it's not to mention that it's not like an instant, you hired Nick Saban, instant fix. Like,
right.
It's still going to be a 4 or 5 year process to, he comes in, he's got to recruit players. You got to go out and get guys to come in. You're going to get a lot of guys that want to come in and play for Nick Saban just because of who he is. And I think you'd get that same principle with like a guy like a Gruden or something like that. Just because of who he is, you're going to get a lot of notoriety from that. But yeah, you want to have somebody that's going to come in and be here for, that span, and not to mention be patient enough to give them the opportunity to institute and instill, their system, recruits, et cetera. But that process has been kind of, the timing of it has kind of been cut a little bit, because you do have the transfer portal, and you can get a handful of good transfer portals that can, really change in just an off season, compared to having to just go based off recruiting classes. So, maybe it doesn't take that long, but yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. Because Rhett Lashley sounds good, but I also think that they were a little bit propped up last year. They had a really easy schedule in a really easy conference. And then you saw what happened whenever they, who did they play?
They played TCU yesterday.
No. In the college football playoffs. I'm drawing a blank. Ohio State? They play Ohio State?
No. Tennessee.
I don't know.
Ohio State.
Yeah. Whoever they played, they got blown out of the water. So I don't know, man. Did they play Penn State maybe? But still, I'm not all the way certain that Rhett Lashley is going to be the guy to fix Arkansas either. Just because I don't know. I don't know about his success at SMU and how much of it is actual success. And we'll see once, all of this turns around and the season is over with. But there's just like Transplant Texan said, I mean, you need to find a winner. But at the same time, he said something about, winners in the SEC. Well, there's no way you're going to get a coach from the SEC who's won. So no matter, right. So no matter what you're going to do, it's going to be a gamble. It's going to be a gamble on someone, and what you're going to want is someone who's, a little bit young, but not too young. Also has a really good record at probably another Power 5 program. And those aren't, easy to come by. Rhett Lashley is one of those people, but again, I don't know how good of success he's actually had at SMU, because now he's like 2-2, right?
Yeah,
I think. Yeah. So I don't know, man.
Is he? And he's just in what, year 2 of at SMU, or is it year 3?
I'll look.
Because he hadn't been there that long. Because he was with
since 2022.
Yeah. So 3 years. So he's in year 3 at SMU. So here's an interesting thought that I've seen thrown around some. What I'm just saying says here. I say an Arkansas guy, Houston Nutt for athletic AD, and Malzahn for coach if they could get along.
Bro, they didn't get along when he was a head coach and Malzahn was the OZ. You think they'd get along with Nutt as being the AD? I don't think so. That would be hilarious. That would be a whole circle moment right there. But at the same time, I don't think that would work.
and nothing against it. Is it just me, or is there an unhealthy obsession with Arkansas and Gus Malzahn for some reason? I know he's an Arkansas guy, got his start here at Shiloh, all that stuff.
Yeah. It's because there's so much untapped potential there, right? Or there was. Like, we didn't get to see the entire experiment like come to fruition,
right?
Because of all that stuff between him and Houston Nutt. I do think Houston Nutt for AD, I kind of like that a lot. Like, I know he's not seasoned with it, but if I'm thinking about like someone as close to Frank Broyles, because that's the last time we had a really good AD,
right?
Someone as close to being like a Frank Broyles type of person, I feel like it's Houston Nutt. Houston Nutt's a little bit more like energetic and like, out there personality wise, but as someone who loves the university marketer and knows what, and that's kind of what you need. So I think that's a sneaky good thought. At the same time, I don't know if the BOT would go for it, but it's there.
Yeah. And it's like, Brian says, I think Houston would be a great AD. Smoke and Temp said we could have won a natty with Nutt and OC in 06.
Yeah. Yeah.
If guys got along. But at that point, like, Gus is down there in Florida right now enjoying himself being an OC with Mike Norvell and having success bringing Florida State back up after that terrible season last year.
And I mean, I still think he's a decent offensive guy. I really do. I mean, he kind of proved it against Alabama. He's doing a really good job right now. But as being a head coach, I just don't know, man. I don't know if he could come here and do that. I don't know if he wants to come here and do it. I think there was, something a while ago that one of the reasons why that Auburn job was so much more attracted to him is because his wife didn't want to move back to Northwest Arkansas. So,
who knows?
You got to have people that want to be here too.
Yeah. I like what I'm just saying says here about Houston Nutt. He said Houston can sell ice cream to an Eskimo. He'd be killing it with fundraising, and Gus is just killing it at Florida State as well. Exactly. So, I mean, so early talk, but it's going to be something to see what this wild ride of the rest of the season is going to play out, how it's going to be, how soon is kind of the button push to start things into motion and things like that. Mm-hmm. The rumblings already began. You already see people on X talking about plane tracking. This plane left this time, plane, it went to XYZ location. So like, things are all fired up and in plane tracking season already.
Yeah. And I haven't been able to cover a college football head coaching search yet, so it's gonna be something. Like I've been able to do it with whenever Eric Musselman left, but there, like I said, football is king. There's no more obsession. There's nothing sports fans are more obsessed with than college football. So it's gonna be an interesting ride whenever it happens. Now, I'll say this. It would be the most Arkansas thing ever to go out and beat Notre Dame this week.
100%.
And the line or the spread is 5.6, 6.5, depending on where you look. Like, that's insane to me. Like, I know Arkansas's offense is good, but it only being 6.5 is insane. So yeah. I don't know, man. Exactly. That's weird.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they won. I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to pick them to win, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
Exactly. So, but yeah, on a positive note to kind of end the show, if you will, as we get ready to wrap up here, at least Arkansas basketball is trending in a positive direction. You had some, big time visits this weekend. The number one guard, 5-star Jordan Smith Jr., number one center in Arafan Diane, in for visits this weekend. And if you haven't seen the pictures across social media, those guys in Razorback Red looks fantastic. You pair them with JJ Andrews for next season, man.
Yeah. I mean, just adding more coal to this this cow train. Like, yeah. No, that I'm excited. I'm super excited. One, for this non-conference, because he talked about how you make a non-conference based on how good you think your team's going to be, and if that's true, this non-conference is gonna, or this team is going to be very good, because the non-conference is insane. They get to play every single team from the last year's Elite Eight. So, yeah, I'm ready for it.
Yeah, and not to mention, we brought back. They announced it this week. Primetime at the Palace, October 3rd. Coach Cal, Coach Music, the new women's coach, is going to have a fun event at Bud Walton, a dunk contest, some other entertainment things, and then going to wrap it up with a men's red and white scrimmage. Like Cal knows what he's doing. We haven't had an event like this in quite a while. Musk did his good, fun events while he's here those first few years. But yeah, it's, to see events like this being brought back, it's exciting things going on in the basketball realm. And, like Transplant Texan said here, he said, Austin, so what you're saying is Hogs are going to hog and make it hard to fire a fireable coach.
Yeah.
Or like Ryan says, Arkansas will slip up, win one, and then drop the rest.
Not the rest. Like, if they win against Notre Dame and then they win, say, Mississippi State, it's going to make it harder for them to be like, hey, pull the trigger on him, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's still a losing record, so they'd have to win one more. If he makes it to a bowl game, it's going to be hard for him. Like, I don't care how this season ends up. I just want there to be a decision, like an easy decision. Like, either, then I don't want them. Like, I want Sam Pittman to win every single one of these next games. Right? I don't want Arkansas to lose another game. Go 10-2. Ain't going to happen, but that's what I want to happen. Right. At the same time, if that doesn't happen, if they don't have at least 8 games won at the end of this regular season, I want them to just suck so we can just get this over with.
Right. Yeah. I agree with Michael here. It's this Arkansas defense can't and won't stop any SEC offenses. I said it yesterday. This defense is like a paper bag, and I don't know. And you mentioned,
well, I mean, they did. They have stopped the. They have stopped the. Well, I'm using stopped lightly. If they can stop them on one drive a game, that gives Arkansas as a puncher's chance because of how good their offense is. So, like, they can stop offenses because they have done it already. They've done it against Ole Miss, at least on one drive or another, and that gave Arkansas a puncher's chance. Now, they're not going to do it with everybody. Nope. To be honest, Tennessee is probably the best offense we're going to play on the schedule. I would say LSU, but their offense just looks bad, which is weird with Garrett Nussmeier. Their offense doesn't look good at all. Defensively, I think it's a harder slate for Arkansas's offense to play. So we'll see, but I don't know. It would be an Arkansas thing to go 6-6 and make this super hard to make a decision.
Yeah. All I got to say is it's going to be an interesting and eventful next few weeks, especially with everything going on, results of games, X, Y, Z. So, but yeah, it's like, let's see, I'm trying to find the comment. Angel says here, Cal embracing the slobber hog. Cal has embraced everything that is good about Razorback basketball. In Cal, we trust. Exactly. Yeah. Gotta love it. So,
yeah.
And so, at this point, we talk about it all the time. The endless cycle of Razorback sports where we're to that point where it's like, all right, I'm ready for basketball season. So, and then
I am ready for basketball season.
Get part of the way
so
through
ready.
basketball season, and a few things go bad, and everybody's like, all right, let's get baseball season. But yeah, it's Michael says here too. Every SEC school has dramatically improved this year. Mississippi State, Vandy, A&M, Texas, Tennessee, Mizzou is even better. But Arkansas is not winning another game. Pull the plug. Let Bobby run the team and move on.
I don't know if Mizzou is better. Did you see how they played against South Carolina?
They still won.
I mean, Vandy, they still won, but South Carolina sucks. I've been telling you this all season long. South Carolina sucks. But but they also played Ole Miss too.
But as a whole, too, you see what Missouri's done with their NIL and what Drink's done too.
Yeah.
So to see them.
No, and that's the worst part is that you have this team that shouldn't even be in the freaking SEC, like embracing that side. Right. And you have Arkansas that's like, oh, whatever. It's so rough.
Yeah.
To see.
100%.
Yeah.
So, quick little scheduling update for you guys. Our midweek show this week is going to be on Wednesday instead of Thursday, and we will continue on with, like you guys said, having a guest. So we're going to have a fellow College Huddle member that is a Notre Dame podcast joining us on Wednesday this week to talk about the Notre Dame game. So, that'll be Wednesday. And before we get out of here, I just want to scroll back a little bit. Let's see. And put up this comment from our friend and listener, Hog Fan 40 ounce. He said, "You guys are great. I appreciate the content. Redundancy and all. I appreciate it." Yeah, exactly. So, so we'll be back Wednesday for our regular show. Have a Notre Dame come on. We'll talk about what it looks like. Like we said, surprisingly, the spread's only 6.5. 64.5 over under. So they're saying no defenses at all in this game with a 64.5 point over under. So another one, take the over. But yeah, so we'll be back on Wednesday. Austin, you got anything else before we get out of here and see what this week holds before we get to Wednesday?
Oh, let's talk about our picks. I haven't even looked.
Oh yeah. Let's see. Groups. In ours, I'm still leading the pack at 22-18, but my lead has been trimmed to a 1-game margin where you're at 21-19, and Hobbs is 3 games away at 19-21.
That's what I'm talking about. Hobbs is catching up.
Yeah.
But I was like 4 games behind you after this week, so excited.
That's what I get for picking. Let's see. Got the Texas Tech game right. SMU let me down. I think we both picked NC State. That didn't. Duke surprised us there.
Yeah.
Miami took.
Duke, and then
can we talk
Illinois surprised us.
Can we talk about Illinois beating the crap out of Illinois, or Indiana beating the crap out of Illinois? Like, who saw that coming?
Didn't see that coming. Not at all. And then Baylor. Like,
close game there.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it's crazy. I don't know. But it was a good week for me, so I'm all here for it.
You said
above 500 again.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, but other than that, I'm good, man.
Yeah. Transplant Texan, great show, great host, great content. Appreciate it. We try to keep it entertaining and informative over here, keeping it real. So like I said, we're gonna get out of here. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the show on YouTube, App Podcast, Spotify. Go follow us across all of our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram. X, Blue Sky, whatever it is. We're going to try to keep you guys updated as much as we can. We'll let you know when we do another live show at Parker's. If you haven't been and visited Parker's, go check them out. They're off Weddington, a great place. Great owners. Brandon and Brittany over there, fantastic stuff. So we'll be over there probably another time for sure this football season at some point. And then, yeah. So we're going to go wrap up. We will, see you guys on Wednesday. Have a great rest of your Sunday afternoon and start to your week. And we're going to get out of here. Austin, myself, we'll see you on Wednesday.